Hey everybody, welcome back to Titans Talk, the series dedicated to DC Universe's Titans. Today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 2, titled Rose. Now, of course, if you watched the last episode of Titans Talk, or if you watched Titans at all, you would know that I had discussed in the previous episode that this episode was technically supposed to be the season premiere. Last episode was supposed to be the season finale of Season 1, due to some conflict in how they thought that it would be a better ending for Season 1, blah, blah, blah. But this episode actually was pretty good. We started out with a 3-month time jump between the previous episode, which was supposed to be the time jump between seasons. So that was a little bit awkward to sort of start that way, but it kind of makes sense if it was done properly. But it was a good little time jump. There were some things that technically didn't happen, but it gave the Titans a little bit of time of team building, even though we didn't really get to see much of it. Just time in the tower. They name dropped Titans Tower, which was nice. Just a couple of little things that they could have done better, I think, to be able to make it obvious that this was just a continuation rather than Season 2, technically episode number 1. I felt like they could have cleaned that up a little bit, but it was overall a good start to what could have been the start of a season. Now, what I think episode number 2, this episode did the best was it actually did a ton of world building. Now, the last episode did a little bit, introducing us with Deathstroke and Bruce Wayne and Batman. However, this one had a lot more stuff going for it. There's some good name drops. We get Dr. Light as a villain who's going to be sort of good, I think, antagonist, or at least somewhat, in order to bring the Titans a little bit closer together, as they are a little bit scattered, with Hawk and Dove being off on their own thing, Corey and Wonder Girl doing their own thing. So I think that the way they're going to kind of come together might be through Dr. Light. My only complaint about that was that I had no idea that it was Dr. Light until they name dropped him later in the episode. I think that that would have been a little bit more of a better step if they were like, hey, this is Dr. Light, or maybe if there were just some Easter eggs in his cell because he breaks out of prison that made it a little bit more obvious that maybe I didn't catch. But I don't really know much about Dr. Light, so even if they did name drop him, I probably wouldn't have known who he was until a little bit later or doing a little bit of research. And actually, speaking of name dropping villains, they also have a little bit of a cameo, I guess, if you want to call it, from another villain called Shimmer, who's also a big DC villain. Not a ton that she does. She just kind of like transforms objects into like a different matter or something like that. But she actually shimmers, which I thought with Wonder Girl's sort of comment about that was actually really funny. But that was a good another name drop. But I think the biggest name drop happens actually twice in the episode, where Donna Troy Wonder Girl name drops Roy Harper, that aka Red Arrow, or aka Speedy, whatever you want to call him based on how you know him from the comics. Now, obviously, I don't think it will connect to the Arrowverse. I think they're very separate things, especially since Arrow is now ending. I highly doubt that Colton Hayes as Red Arrow will come over or cross over to the DC Universe show. It would be cool, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. But he does get name dropped twice about providing her with information, and then she gets a call from him. That was good little Easter eggs throughout the episode. I think that he may also join the Titans at some point. I think he might have been on the Teen Titans somewhere in there. So it's just another addition in world building that this episode definitely contributed to. Now, in terms of our main characters, the main things I really want to talk about are Hawk and Dove, Dick Grayson, and Corey, aka Starfire. Let's go ahead and start with Starfire first, since that was kind of just a quick thing towards the end. She sort of gets kidnapped. They call her like a princess. So there's going to be some storyline there with her alien world and how she maybe escaped it, or it's on the lam, or because she didn't kill Raven. There's going to be some kind of story there. We'll get there. I'm not that intrigued by it. But when it happens, hopefully they'll make it interesting. The second point that I want to talk about is Dick Grayson. Now, I always want to talk about Dick Grayson just about every episode of Titans Talk. Again, as I said last season, he is like my favorite DC character, so I'm going to have a lot to say about him. The main thing that I liked is how his character is sort of building and becoming that leader. I think he kind of does it naturally after being under the wing of Bruce for such a long time. But what was weird about that is how he kind of, in the last episode, they get the tower back, more or less, from his sort of interaction with Bruce Wayne. Now, we get a little bit more of Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne, which I think he did a little bit better, but I still have to see a lot more to see what he looks like in the Batsuit. Still feel like he's a little bit old, but his accent and things got a little bit better from the last episode, but it wasn't quite on point for me. But overall, I think that they did have a somewhat decent relationship, But that's where it got a little bit weird for me because he's been so angry. Dick has been so angry at Bruce for the past season plus years that he's been away from him. Now all of a sudden, within like the snap of a finger, he seems to be like kind of back on good terms with him. He talks to him over the phone, which was a little bit kind of interesting conversation. But obviously, I know he has to have some kind of love for Bruce. He essentially brought him up. They've had a big history together. So, I mean, there's got to be some kind of camaraderie there. What I did like, however, about their conversation and sort of back and forth was talking about Jason, how Jason's sort of like going a little bit stir crazy in Titan's Tower, not having a lot to do. So he even mentions that when am I going to go back to Gotham City is what Jason tells to Dick. And he says, I don't think you're ready, and Bruce doesn't think you're ready. So that kind of gives us a stepping stone to knowing that, number one, obviously that Dick and Bruce have some sort of correspondence, not only about Jason, but about other things, as we've seen. But also how Jason might not be quite prepared, as we know, for the Robin role. He's a little bit more loose. Plays things a lot more fast and loose than Dick would or some of the other Robins in later years. But it's how his whole role is going to portray and like sort of come about and roll out. I think that'll be interesting, and how that dynamic plays in, and how another interesting thing that he says, which hopefully will lead to Nightwing, which I'm super excited about. His Robin Jason says that, Dick says to Jason how he's the new Robin now. And so Jason prompts the question, well, what does that make you? And Dick sort of just says, I don't know, I'll sort of find out. So hopefully that's another step to that Nightwing role. I think there was actually a video leaked by, not leaked, but Minka Kelly walking around, they were on set, and supposedly showed the Nightwing suit, which I didn't see at all. It was like raining and super dark, so I don't even know what they're talking about. But hopefully down the line, even towards maybe teasing into season 3, or maybe get a suit tease or something like that. That's, I think, where we're really headed. I don't think we're going to get it in season 2, but I can always, fingers crossed, because that would be really, really exciting. And finally, the third thing that I wanted to talk about was Hawk and Dove. Now, I really liked their storyline in this episode. They've had kind of a back and forth throughout season 1, a little bit in this first episode of season 2, but I liked how they were kind of off and doing their own thing. Yes, they are separate from the rest of the Titans, which makes it a little bit weird, but I liked what they were doing because they're trying to get Hank clean, but also at the same time, Dove is doing like her own sort of superhero antics for the past month, and they kind of have this back and forth conversation and argument about it, which I think brought up a lot of interesting issues, and the fact that these are just normal people. The things that they're doing are so dangerous and so life-threatening that it's just baffling that they're even putting themselves through this. They said that they were going to be done, they should be done, their bodies can't take it, their minds can't take it, but there's something that draws them to it. And I think that's one of the most interesting storylines in terms of like superheroes that we could possibly explore, especially for people who don't have powers. These are just regular people putting on a suit, like Dick Grayson, like Bruce Wayne, like Jason Todd, but they are really showing a more visceral aspect of it, especially with their relationship being, boyfriend, girlfriend, or technically I think they're engaged, I don't know. But there's a lot of things that can be explored there that would actually drive the show a lot further than just your normal superhero show. So I really hope that they expand upon that. And of course, the absolute last thing that I have to talk about is Rose, which is the newest character we get introduced to and is the title character of the whole episode. She's kind of on the run for the majority of it. Dick sort of easily finds her. I kind of think that they have some sort of past, but they sort of seem to make it seem like they don't have a past and are just meeting. So there's some kind of weird indecision there, but it's definitely going to be interesting how it plays out, because as it turns out towards the end of the episode, this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it, so stop watching if you haven't seen it or don't want to watch it yet. Rose ends up being Rose Wilson. It's like Slade Wilson's daughter, aka Deathstroke. So that immediately made me sort of sigh and roll my eyes just a little bit, because I really hope that they don't do the Judas Contract. Now, if you're not familiar, the Judas Contract was a story about a character joining the Titans sort of being a double agent for Deathstroke, joining the Titans but also feeding Deathstroke information so that he could essentially destroy them. Now, that storyline I really wasn't a fan of. I actually did a review on this channel of the animated version of the Teen Titans Judas Contract, which I still didn't like it. I just really hope that they don't play that storyline. It's a little bit played out. It's a little bit over the top. It's just a little bit kooky for this show if they want to go dark and gritty. But I think because Rose has been on the run, maybe she won't be like that storyline from the Judas Contract. It was a different character, though, in that comic and storyline. It wasn't even his daughter. It was like his sort of adopted daughter slash lover slash whatever you want to call it with Deathstroke. So I don't think they're going to go that route unless they're really playing like a long game. Like they knew that Deathstroke knew that Robin would take in this girl. He's already sort of pre-trained her and prepared her for infiltrating the Titans and taking them over and blah, blah, blah. And then Deathstroke comes in and kills Robin because he's got a big beef with him. I hope, again, that's really not the storyline that we're going to go for here. At least spin it a little bit and try and go away from that direction. Plus, it's way too early to be doing that. I feel like if it was somebody who was established in the Titans, to be able to try and do that storyline in one season, it's a little bit far-fetched. It has to be a long game. So just one of my big nitpicks. I really hope they don't do the Judas Contract. But other than that, those are pretty much my thoughts. It was a really good episode overall. It had some good action. It had some good topics of conversation, some good things that could be coming. It felt like a season premiere. Definitely felt like one, and it was intended to be so. So how that whole thing played out, I think that was, again, another drop in the ball by DC, but it's not my decision, so what can I say? But overall, really good episode. I liked it a lot. If you have seen the episode, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you guys want to see the Judas Contract done, or if you're like me and do not want to see that happen. Let me know that as well in the comment section. But other than that, that's really all I have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Titans Talk next week. See you guys next time.